All right.
This is historic. This is a historic moment.
My boy Nkosi been waiting on this moment for we don't curse on Start Loving Black People podcast, so that will be edited out.
Yeah,
let me get
my
this
brother
mic right
Charles from another mother, same God, amen. Black Jesus.
Same God, amen. You know what? Let me get a little. Yeah, I like this angle a little better.
Okay.
So, this is the button. This is the.
What are you talking about?
You know, like the crowd favorite, but
Oh yeah,
whatever. Yeah, that's what the DJs call the horn. Hit the horn. I'm gonna add that sound effect in there. All right. Anyway, welcome to episode 001. 001. Very first episode. Put your ones up. 001. Start Loving Black People podcast. I am your co-host, and this is a very special episode, man. I'm looking right in this camera. This is going to be the beginning of a very important journey for the culture. It's needed. I am Charles Bourgeois, the people's champ, kissing babies, shaking hands, or shaking babies, kissing hands, whatever it takes to get the job done. And I'm here with...
My name is Brother Nkosi.
Brother Nkosi.
I'm going to hit y'all with a little bit who I am through my first stanza in my manifestation poem that I do every morning. So here it is.
Run it. Keep it short, please.
Y'all ready? I got you. Just the first stanza. I am Nkosi. Now nods the self inside to liberate the spirits, minds, bodies, and pockets of my people. Again, just so you can hear it, so you know that you heard it correct the first time. You ready? I am Nkosi. Now nods the self inside to liberate the spirits, minds, bodies, and pockets of my people.
You dig?
Straight up.
I appreciate that little poetry moment. That.
Oh yeah, you know about it. You've been to Poetry Slam before, haven't you? They be hitting y'all. Y'all ever
Poetry
been to
Slam moment.
Slam? They good.
Anyway. So enough about that. Today is Juneteenth, June 19th. Juneteenth for all those who don't know. Now you know. You should know.
Happy Juneteenth,
Right.
good
Happy
people.
Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
You don't gotta scream it though. They can hear you.
Oh, okay.
You gonna make them turn down the volume.
episode.
First episode. Happy Juneteenth. And that's what today's topic is of the day. We got to jump into it. But listen, guys. So just so you guys know, we're going to talk a little bit about Juneteenth. Everyone knows, but we're going to kind of give the tech dive in. But more importantly, we're going to talk about racism.
Racism in America.
Racism. We're going to talk about racism.
Like our good brother Dr. Umar Johnson said, say it 3 times so the people can understand.
Say it 3 times like the boogeyman in the mirror.
For sure.
Racism.
Shout out to good brother Dr. Umar Johnson. Much respect, sir.
Yeah. Much respect, all that. All right, but look, so we're going to dive into that. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk about Juneteenth racism. This is first episode, Start Loving Black People podcast, and we're on here. Happy to be here. But before we jump into that, listen, we got to talk about it. It's one of our first segments, and I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a hit. I particularly love this segment, so I'll jump in. The segment is called What Had Happened Was.
Ooh, y'all heard that?
Yeah.
What had happened was.
What had happened was.
Wait. You know how like you out with your homeboy and then he be like, man, it ain't go right. And then he hit you with
they start that story?
What'd he say?
He said, look, well, what had happened was, anytime a melanated person of color starts a story with what had happened was, you know it's about to be some shit.
Or lack of accountability.
That is yeah, or lack of accountability. So in this particular segment, the very first segment of what had happened was, this individual has a lot of lacks of accountability. So we're gonna jump into it. So authorities say, and I gotta read this because this is crazy. Authorities say that they uncovered an Arizona man's plot to shoot and kill African Americans and other minorities at a concert at State Farm Arena in Atlanta.
That's wild. He ain't coming to ICU.
What had happened was a federal grand jury indicted a 58-year-old man named Mark Preto. Preto, you wildin', bro. I don't know what you thought. It's a lot of things going on that's like, we got to talk about, jump into this. But listen, he got indicted for firearms trafficking, hate crimes, possession of unregistered firearm. So this is like, it's terrible. So Arizona man,
who was scheduled to be the headliner for that show?
Hey, that's why it's so funny. Bad Bunny.
Man, who was Bad Bunny? Like,
who's Bad Bunny?
Is that a man or?
You're not in the culture, bro. Bad Bunny is the man. And the funny part about it is, Bad Bunny. If you were looking to kill black folks, no. I'm saying if you were looking to shoot black folks, a Bad Bunny concert in Atlanta is not even the right show to go to. Bad Bunny is.
Wait, who?
The demo is Hispanic. Bad Bunny is a Mexican, Latin, Hispanic, Latine artist. He is of the Caribbean. He doesn't even speak English. So why are you gonna go shoot black folks at a concert where the headliner
I don't even know who he is.
Speaks Spanish? That's the whole point where it's crazy. It's like I'm gonna go kill black folks. Let's go to Bad Bunny concert. That would be like saying I want to go kill Puerto Ricans. I'm going to a Young Jeezy concert.
Wait. To your point, that speaks to his ignorance. Like he's not even. He doesn't even know any black people in real life. That's what that's. Really
Don't get me wrong. There are gonna be some black folks at a Bad Bunny concert, but majority of the folks at a Bad Bunny concert in Atlanta are gonna be brown, not black. So the whole thing's crazy.
I wonder how many Facebook friends that he had with black, like straight up.
One of his friends are black, so it's cool. Okay. But so to jump into it though, he wanted to do this because, quote, it was going to incite a race war. I'm reading this because I'm just like so shook up. He wanted to incite a race war prior to the 2024 presidential election. And it says here, as according to the indictment, and this is the crazy part, quote, there would be a high concentration of African Americans, and he planned to leave Confederate flags. And after the violence, I gotta look at the camera because it's crazy. He was gonna shout phrases like, quote, KKK all the way.
KKK all the way.
No, that's just not cool.
Bro, what is wrong with you?
Hey, yeah, so what's wild?
Problems, my guy.
So Mark Preto, he's wild. May 14th, he got arrested on a New Mexico interstate driving to Atlanta to go shoot up black folks at a Bad Bunny concert. The whole thing is ludicrous. It sounds crazy, but what had happened was he ended up getting pulled over. They investigated him. They interviewed him. He got caught with firearms, unlicensed, registered rifles. And then at the end of the day, my man now is in jail facing 15 years.
Yeah, I think 15 or 10 years per charge.
Per charge.
You know, they got white privilege in this country. So per
charge,
for
here we go.
Man, shoot, you might get less than a year. And
he's
going to kill some black folks.
He might get out. He might get out.
The district attorney probably white. And also he probably sponsored by white money. Listen,
the district attorney in Arizona could be black. We don't know. I ain't looked into it.
We don't know.
Don't say that.
But he got white privilege regardless.
He is a white man.
You know
Mark Preto, so, you're a wild boy. What had happened was you are the what had happened was of the day. And that shit's crazy.
All right, let's move on.
We got to move on. But we're going to jump into it. So, I mean, listen, I can't believe that happened. But what really had happened is Juneteenth has happened. Today's Juneteenth. And shout out to Juneteenth, man.
Let's celebrate black people today.
Yeah.
Actually celebrate yourself, guys. Like, it's Juneteenth. This is when we got free in some regards. You know, the actual chains started to come off of us. You know, this was a big moment when, you know, a black military with, at the time, a good majority of them were black soldiers actually came and freed black people.
Preach.
So black people seeing black people with guns talking about
This is true.
You free.
Yeah. And they confused. But listen, so what people don't really realize is like, I'm down with Juneteenth, but I feel like they trying to Cinco de Mayo Juneteenth. I don't like that.
What you mean by that?
I mean, like, all right, Cinco de Mayo is not really the independence that Mexicans celebrate. Mexican Independence Day is not on May 5th.
Well, you know, that year they celebrated July 4th like it was Juneteenth. Like July 4th hit different that year. You know,
that's the thing. It's like we'll
celebrate July 4th too. Like, you know,
I'm not really. And July 4th is cool. We can celebrate it. But the thing with Juneteenth is like we're celebrating the overtime slaves. They on overtime. They've been off duty.
265 years of slavery.
It's a long time. And to work an additional, 2 years? 1863 was the Emancipation Proclamation. Yeah. Juneteenth is in 1865. That means that is a whole year and a half, year and some change, 2 years.
Right.
Damn near of still being slaves when you was free. So that whole thing is crazy. June 19th.
So what came after Juneteenth though? Then we had the Reconstruction era. That was in.
Whoa! We got to back up though. We got. If we're gonna get into it, we got to back up because we talk about it at its core. There's a true timeline of what makes the African American experience relevant in this country. Now to talk about Juneteenth, right?
I like that.
Because Juneteenth, June 19th. That's what Juneteenth is. For those that don't know, it is June 19th. Juneteenth, not June 14th, June 16th, June 17th. It's Juneteenth is June 19th,
Yeah.
1865, when General General Granger comes. He does what Nkosi is saying. He brings a bunch of black soldiers, and they say, "Hey, black folks in Texas, y'all free." They go to Galveston, they go to Houston. Let the folks know. Word took a while to spread. There was no internet or text back, and they couldn't just be like Texas slaves. So slaves are working overtime. But the very first slave comes.
Do it for the gram.
No, there's no gram in 1619. In 1619, the first slaves make it to America. Right, that's the whole thing. 1865, Emancipation Proclamation. I prefer to celebrate the Emancipation Proclamation celebration. That's the real celebration and proclamation. I should be able to get up out of New Year's Eve and be like, oh, January 1, Emancipation Proclamation, do the freedom dance. But that's not what we do in this country.
Let's talk about Reconstruction now.
Reconstruction, 1865, what happens?
Essentially, it was kind of like federal aid. They trying to create aid for black people so that they could start getting back on their feet. We needed a way to equalize the
40 acres and a mule.
And so General Sherman, he issued Special Order Number 15.
Let's talk
about he want to give us 400 acres and mules, which
40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule.
All the land in the South that was taken over by the Union.
Right, and then Congress actually passed. Congress actually passed that into law, but after Lincoln got shot,
Lincoln got killed
by a Booth.
R.I.P. to Lincoln.
Lincoln want to die on us first off.
Lincoln died on the sword. I rock with Lincoln's my dog.
Booth killed him.
Booth ran off with the bat.
And then
shot
what's
him.
crazy is like you said, Congress passed the law, but then Andrew Johnson, he want to veto it. So that means,
he killed.
I don't know who a veto means. That means override. It meaning that it didn't go through.
They know this.
President.
They're smart. Bills. They know this.
Some do, some don't.
They know this. Listen, we got something. Let's keep it going. So we're getting new in 1865. 1866, Reconstruction starts. This is mainly just like poll tax, literacy test, grandfather clauses, anything you can think of that would have been a way to stop black people from coming up. So if you want to go vote, they'd be like, oh, man, pay 15 cents. You'd be like, oh, I ain't got 15 cents. Can't vote.
And let's be real, white people wasn't having it, right? So they started.
They was
KKK.
not having it.
They was like, I
don't know what year was that. I don't even know what year that was.
It was after.
This is Reconstruction.
So
in Reconstruction,
KKK
pops up, boom, and then you get into all this about separate versus equal, and then 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson upholds the law, basically saying separate but equal, which really is unfortunate. I mean, we know all about this, and there's a lot of discourse about black folks should have stayed separate, and then they would have built their own Mecca, and then it's a lot of that. I personally don't feel that way because of all the systematic racism, and we can get into that, but I don't think that's really what's going on. So 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, in Reconstruction, and it takes almost 190 years until 1964 of the Civil Rights Act, that ends Jim Crow. And then 1865, Voting Rights Act.
And so Jim Crow, let's talk about what Jim Crow was. Those are the black codes, right?
That's the whites only.
So the black codes, they restricted a lot of things.
It's the Rosa Parks
of our rights, basically. So before this, we had no voting rights. Some states you weren't allowed to read.
Yeah.
Some states you wasn't allowed to just do various things like own a gun. They definitely want no black people owning no gun.
Well, when we look at it, right? So let's see. So we got let's look at this high level. 1865, slaves are freed. 1896, we really kind of established the Jim Crow, uphold the separate but equal. And from, call it 1896 as a marker to 1964, you can't vote. This is 1964 now. You can't vote. That's what I'm not.
Can't get home.
Redlining, you can't. You can't buy a real home. You can, but it's in a terrible part of town and it's expensive and terrible rates. You can't vote. You can't read. Really, schools are terrible. You can read, but you have poor education. You have poor place to live. You can't vote. You don't have any type of, let's call it, recreation, because that's why it's funny you say that, man. This is a side topic. You know what they say?
Wait. Let's talk about some black empowerment.
Wait. Do you know?
Dull.
I get it, but do you know why people say black people can't swim?
I can't.
There's no pools in the projects. There's 0 pools in the projects.
I got one homie that could swim.
You showed me,
and he was a Navy
pool
SEAL.
in the project.
Well, he was in the Navy.
So in order to do that, you gotta be a Navy SEAL.
He was on the swim team.
So a lot of it's crazy, but I mean, you're literally saying that if you're black in this country at a certain point, and this is 1968, we know people who were born in 1968.
Yeah, we do.
Right. So it's hard to say racism isn't a thing or wasn't real. It's hard, and it's hard. You get into the whole thing. It's like, oh my God, I want to lean into it. We can move past it. But it's just kind of where we were. But let's get into.
Let's talk about racism real quick.
Well,
That reminded me of a story that happened. So I remember when I was
wait a minute, what?
I was like in middle school or high school, right? And so I went out to Carolina, and so it was me and my mom and
You doing a racism story?
my mom. I am. You
Okay. Well, okay. All right.
He's so rude, man. I'm trying to talk. Look, so we was going down to South Carolina. We was going to Myrtle Beach. And so it was my mom, my stepdad, and me. And we went into this restaurant. And so when we went into the restaurant, like we walked in, the host, they didn't really acknowledge us. We saw other people walking, other people who were white walking in. They sat down, they started getting served. After about 10 minutes or so, we was like, all right, well, I guess we'll just sit ourselves because they was kind of ignoring us. So we sat down, and we looked around, and we saw the other people who came behind us getting served, and we was like, wow, we still ain't get served. What's going on?
Where is my sandwich?
Yeah, like we hungry too, like, and so yeah, so we hungry too. So like we sat there maybe like 30 minutes to an hour, and we actually refused. Like they refused us service. Nobody acknowledged.
30
us.
minutes is a long time.
I think one person, we did speak to one person. They were like, yeah, somebody be right with you. But it was like almost an hour at this point.
Where was this?
Myrtle Beach. It was
In
just-
Florida?
Myrtle Beach is in South Carolina.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
And don't go to Myrtle Beach, it's green
Carolina.
and they racist. But look, yeah, like it was crazy. We actually got refused to serve, and this was like early 2000s, like the first decade of 2000s. And that's not 1968. That's
True.
like 10, 15
Well,
years
a lot
ago.
of this trickles
so
down, and as
that
I
happened.
say, and I'm gonna talk about it later. Racism is a one-way
traumatic.
street. It's a hill. Racism flows down. It doesn't flow up. But before we can get into like that
That's
particularly,
facts. I can agree
it's
with
facts,
that.
right? Okay, we got to talk about how we got to where we were because we stopped in 1968. So a couple other points, and they're not happy points, right? But we got to talk about it. 1983.
Well, let's talk about Tulsa. Let's talk
Wait,
about
hold on,
Sweet
wait, but
Auburn.
wait.
Let's talk
You're-
about
You're
the
talking
things
about
that
disasters.
people were doing in these empowerment things that they were doing. Like they were building communities. Like Tulsa was on the market for trade, world trade.
We're gonna have to talk
Like-
about black economics the next episode. This episode's about racism and
After that,
Juneteenth.
We'll get to it.
Okay. So 1983, the Corrections Corporation founds one of the largest businesses that is actually considered like a small business, which is a whole nother terrible thing to talk about. But the Corrections Corporation is founded privatizing prisons, which is also not great. And then in 1993, we have the three,
For-profit prison industrial complex.
also not good.
That's crazy.
We have the three strike law in 1993 for habitual offenders.
Yeah, 1994 crime bill.
Correct.
President Bill Clinton.
I thought we were.
office.
You're naming. You're just calling out Bill Clinton.
So, yeah, the 1994 crime bill, it was definitely very, very detrimental to our community. As
Thanks, Bill.
It did create this whole mass incarceration thing, and
I wouldn't
before
say
that,
it created it. It amplified it.
that's fair. It amplified it, but before that, we had the 1980s crack epidemic, and then that's making it
Well,
worse.
that's
So now we're losing black men in the household. We got economic castration. We got the welfare system. But I'm not gonna go too far into that.
let's get. We're almost home. We're almost home.
Okay.
1993. So then that pushes us in the space where from the 90s until now, the next thing that we can put on the calendar is Joe Biden passes Juneteenth as a national holiday.
Right. So we had
Go Joe Beasy.
for sure. We had the grandmother of Juneteenth, Miss Opa Lee.
Mhm.
She was actually very profound in this. She's from, I believe it was Townsend, Texas. I think that was the area of where she was from, and she was very pivotal in this becoming law. And national holiday. That's pretty dope because it's like wow, like we get a day off on the day that we were free. So that is that's very, very important, and I think this is a time where we should celebrate, praise our ancestors, honor our ancestors, because it's very, very pivotal.
It is. This is true.
Wait. I will say one more thing, though. Even though it's very pivotal, at the end of the day, they still, like, giving black people tokens. Like, at the end of the day, yeah, like, they love giving us tokens. Like,
You mean like
national holiday? That don't really do nothing for us.
They love just giving us like a mascot,
a token,
tokens, and paintings, murals,
like
achievements. Pat on the backs, high
not
fives.
all corporations honor Juneteenth. Not everybody get that day off. So
if you don't get the day off, you need to holler at your employer.
So it's like the federal government, but you can't take hate or racism out of the hearts of white people. You know what I'm saying?
Well, wait. And that's where that's
that might be.
That's I gotta dive in because now you just talked about it. You can't take the quote. You can't take racism out of the hearts of white people. I don't think it's necessarily in the hearts of white people in that notion, because that's not it, right? When we talk about racism particularly, right, racism as the way you described it isn't real in that sense.
Wait, let's define racism. Let's look up the official.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
So while he's doing that, I'm just gonna talk about.
So racism, it's quick. I mean, this is we're in the World Wide Web here. We got Wi-Fi down here, so it's cool. Racism is defined as.
Is that Webster's?
This is Oxford.
Okay, Oxford.
Oxford's language definition says, and I quote, it's a noun, prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism by an individual, community, or institution against a person or people on the basis of their membership in a particular racial ethnic group, typically one that is a minority or marginalized. Now, that definition, I think for the most part is true, but it has a undertone in that last sentence that says typically in a minority that is marginalized. There's a reason why it says typically, because I thoroughly believe, and I got to look at you and look at this camera, black people cannot be racist, right? The reason why I'm saying that is because racism is a tool that's used to marginalize people. So when I say black people can't be racist,
what does marginalized people mean?
Marginalizing people is saying, hey, Nkosi, take your black ass out of my store. I don't want your money. Or, hey, Nkosi.
I'm gone, bro. Hey, we're the closest black-owned business. You ain't got to tell me twice.
Right. or hey, Nkosi, you're not allowed to buy a house in this area because you're black. You have too much melanin. You can't live in my neighborhood. Hey, Nkosi, your black ass kids
live here.
Your black ass kids can't go to my school.
Schools,
right.
None of that.
So that's what we're saying. Or hey,
build on myself.
Like, or they say like, oh, you know what? We're looking for someone lighter for this job, and you're like, huh? What do you mean? That's the marginalized thing. So when I
don't 100%. So I kind of know where you're going with that, and you definitely have some good points. But I look at racism more of like it's a race. You know what I'm saying? And the race is economics.
It is.
So it's like, you know, after slavery was over, like white folks essentially like they was like here and we was like not on the chart. Like where my hand is on this other camera.
How it started.
Yeah, so like we built this country, right? We all know that, right? So we built this country, we built the infrastructure, we built the banks, we built their businesses, we built the government, we built the infrastructure, we built the railroads, we built the planes and the airport terminals, and these companies, these businesses, even these government entities profit off of our slave labor. And we did not build anything for ourselves.
Because we were never allowed to.
So racism or the racists are in front of us, and we're not winning the race, so we can't be racist. Because we not even in the race.
I like that analogy. It's racism. Who can race? Because they had a head start.
I believe Dr. Claude Anderson quotes that less than 2%, that basically black people own less than 2% of the wealth of this country. Mm-hmm. And that's a damn shame. That is a shame. Just getting home ownership would be, you know, starting points to get on the other side of this. But even then, you're still behind. I believe a couple of years ago, don't quote me, but average income for like black people or black men in particular,
$17,000.
It was $42,000.
Net worth of a black person, $17,000.
Oh, net worth. I'm talking about the annual incomes, about $42,000. And so,
but hold on, wait. I got to jump into the point that you made, right? Because it can't go brushed. You can't just stay at like it's not the whole thing,
right?
Because the whole thing here, and let's back up. Racism isn't real. And I'm saying like, oh my God, this is a clickbait. No, it's like racism is a social construct used for profitability. Racism is profitable. So let me back it up because this is the funny part. If you hate somebody, right, You don't go to their country, put them on boats, and bring them here because you hate them so much and you can't wait to have them around. That doesn't make sense. You do that. You put people on boats to bring them to the country to work for free because racism is profitable. It was profits involved in putting people, making them work, and forcing them to be slave labor. So in its essence, what you're saying is true, right? It is about the economics, but racism is a made-up construct that the individuals who are in power to impose the systems use, which is why I say to my earlier point, racism or being racist is not something that black people can be.
Let's move into it. Like you said, the systems. So let's look up systematic racism.
I don't even want to look up systematic
Okay, well, let's talk
racism.
about systematic racism.
You can talk about it. We know what systematic racism
Systematic
is.
racism, but we know what it is, but I want to add context and
Okay.
be real clear about what systematic racism is from a black perspective.
Right.
So this is how I see systematic racism. White people have built systems, whether it be the medical systems, whether it be the educational systems, whether it be the prison complex systems, talk about school to prison pipeline, things of that nature.
Yep.
And you see how they're all connected. School to prison pipeline. We got the education, we got the prisons. So it's all designed to.
But I mean, it's more than that, though, right?
Entrap you. It's designed to.
I wouldn't even say trapping. It's just like it is. So let's think of it like this. And
what I'm saying shortly is that the systematic racism is that there's these systems in place designed to push you back, and there doesn't matter necessarily who's in charge. But
I don't even think it's for pushing you back. It's for keeping the majority, which are mainly people of
majority in check. Not
even in check. White folks, let's just call it what it is. White people benefit from racism. Because if I benefited from racism and I was a white guy, I might be racist too. I'm not saying that it's
you ain't gonna
right.
Give it up.
But what I'm saying is when it comes to segregation, home ownership, building wealth, schools, taxes, environmental, being biased, the police, everything. The system is set up in a way that if you are a black person, it is to push you, marginalize you, to make room for white people who brought you in the country in the first place to profit off of you. So racism in itself is not a real essence until it is made real. So when people say like, I hate you, they say that, it's like, oh my God, you can bleep it out and say it's a bad word. But when you say the N word, it's like, oh, that is a racial slur used to dehumanize a person, because the only way that America pulls off the stunt of taking people from another country and bringing them here and making them work for free, they have to make them less of a human or be dehumanized. So once they're dehumanized, now they're not even a real person. They're less than a person. The 3/5 clause, the 1/8, the octoroon, all of that is used in design in a system to marginalize black people, to get them to be less than human for profit, so white people can benefit as the such. And so there's a quote, and I want to read this quote. I want to let you know how you feel about this quote. There's a quote, right, by Madeline Clark. It states,
who's Madeline Clark?
Madeline Clark is a social scientist, but it's unnamed. Let's not even put a name to it. The quote states, in the eyes of biology, there is no such thing as race because it is a social construct. This is why in this country you can be racially black and culturally white, or racially white and culturally black.
Do you got your black card?
That's where that comes from too. So all of it is in essence, and I don't want this to be like such a heavy, deep episode. Like, oh my God, they're gonna be racist on this show, and every time Nkosi and Chuck get together, it's the white man. I got white people friends. To be honest, my family members are white. It's all good. We get nothing but love.
I ain't gonna say all that, but I got love for everybody. Listen, I do got some white.
I got white people in my family.
That
okay,
I'm friends with. Yeah,
it's all love.
I got some ancestors that got raped.
Well, but that's the thing, though, right? When you say that I got some ancestors that got raped, human beings are not born racist. This is a learned behavior that then manifests itself into the act of racism because it is a social construct that is assumed, that is educated, that is believed, and then is militarized and used to marginalize people. So I say it once again, I'm going to say it again. Black people cannot be racist unless we control the system. So in this country, in America, black folks can't be racist. It's unfortunate, but let's talk about what it is. It doesn't mean that black folks can't be prejudiced to white people, because we can, and some absolutely are. I don't think most, right? But some of us who have had poor experience, you talked about what happened at the dining concept, and I'm sure you and your family like, oh, these white folks, da, da, da. So it happens, but we can't be racist.
In early 2000s, like, the same thing that was happening while the whole 1960 civil rights things was going on, like the same thing they were trying to stop, we still happened in early 2000s. looking back at it, that was like one of my first racist experience. Like I came from a majority, Riverdale, Georgia. Shout out to Clayton County.
Riverdale,
Clayco.
Georgia.
Yeah.
Shake
Lotto,
them dreads.
Flocka.
Flocka.
You know what I'm saying?
Girl, the way you move it, do it with no hands.
Hey. Yeah, Flocka.
Flocka.
Ooh, shout out to Walker Flocka.
Right, shout out Flocka.
But I came from a school, it was a majority black people. And so like I wasn't exposed to a lot of white people until I went to college, and I went to a school that was a PWI, meaning predominantly white institution. So that's when I started getting like exposure to white people. But before that was the experience at the restaurant. And so, I was kind of shielded from it, I guess, through maybe segregation or,
You ain't lived through no segregation. Be lying.
Oh, look. I got a perfect example for y'all.
Be lying.
Look, so we moved to Clayton County around 2001. And so when in first grade, it was like 27-3, meaning like 27 white people to 3 black kids.
That was the score of the Falcons game with the Patriots?
That was in first grade, so I was one of the 3 black kids. Next year, second grade, it completely swapped because white flight occurred in Clayton County around 2001. Don't quote me on the year, but around 2001. And so it flopped. So now it's 27 black kids and 3 white kids. So it completely changed. And so, like, that was almost like, to me, it felt like overnight, but it was the next year, and so.
That sounds like the effects of redlining.
It's kind of like they took the opportunities out of our community. Like, we came to, like, try to move in, and then, today, Clayton County is like 70% black.
Well, what's funny, and I got a question for you. I want to say this.
Clayton County, Georgia, shout out to y'all. I love y'all,
The
man.
fastest way to acquire wealth in this country is through real estate. If the appreciation of the economy happens, let's call it in the last, 50 years, and 100 years ago, black folks couldn't buy houses in great areas or they were subjugated to projects. White folks gained their wealth just by owning houses for cheap.
Creation.
When black folks couldn't own houses for cheap. So a lot of it comes into the space where in order for advancement for racial, call it economics, or racial, call it equivalency or getting to a higher page or moving past racism or making it to a point where we can move on and heal our wounds, it has to involve the economic justice paired with the racial justice. That's my take there. But I have a question for you because we talked about racism.
Kind of start wrapping up a little.
Right. I talked about racism just being profitable. Being racist is profitable. That's the whole point. So and white folks like profit, so they're going to keep being racist. And that's why I'm saying in order for us to get the justice, we have got a couple racial justice with economic justice. But the question to you is, can you name another system that generates or has generated as much economic activity as racism or being racist?
White man win the trophy.
Shit. Or
I mean, straight up.
Let me ask you a better question.
Ain't nobody do it like him.
Let me ask you a better question. As America's birth defect, which is racism, how would we have been able to generate as much economic activity and make America, quote, the greatest place in the world? Because I believe it is, without racism. What else could have been done is my question to you.
Man, that's a rhetorical question. He know the answer to that. Nothing. So, like, without black people, America wouldn't be nothing.
Oh, but you know what I like to say though, and I might get canceled for this.
We're gonna get canceled on the first episode, man. We just started.
Like anytime,
man,
anytime. Let me look here. I'm gonna say this.
Oh man.
Anytime I see homeless white people on the street, we're talking about economics and economic
sweating,
justice.
y'all.
Anytime I see.
Hey man, come
on. Wait. I gotta tell you how I feel because we just talked about racism is profitable. So okay, cool. Anytime I see white people, homeless people on the streets and they're white, I drive past them. I don't even give them down the tips. I don't even look that way because I'm like, you white, you was winning. You supposed to use the curve. You supposed to use the system. You supposed to win.
Use your privilege.
You supposed to use your. Hey man, listen.
A nice job,
I'm not saying if I was white I'd be racist, but I would definitely use my privilege.
I thought similar thoughts. I want to offer some solutions. So we talked about systematic racism. So education. The black man, the black woman, we must learn our history. Our history teaches us who we are so that we can know who we must be.
That's a great point.
You know what I'm saying? And so the history allows you to hold your head up. The history allows you to have self-esteem. the history allows you to intake the education because
Boom.
the white people only created the patent system. I believe Dr. John Henry Clark said that the white man only created the patents. The only thing the white man ever created was the patent system. So
Wow.
patent basically saying like he copied what we was doing and then like basically he rewrote the patent essentially or rewrote.
You're saying patent?
Yeah, the patent.
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 Yeah, patent. Okay.
Patents. Yeah. So basically, you know what? Basically, just think about it like this. Whatever for all you kids out there, you adults, think about it like this. Whatever you could see, hear, taste, smell, feel, interact with, engage with, somebody that looked like you, your mama, your daddy,
That's true.
me or Charles, we made it with our hands, with our
think that's
minds,
real.
with our spirits, with our souls. Like everything came out the minds of a black person. You know, minus one or two things. We give them a little bit of credit. They would never give us any, but we'll give them like
Give them some credit, man.
less than 5%.
Give them some credit.
But
I agree,
realistically, they stole everything. Like
Yeah.
a lot of things that people think that this white man made, it was really a black person that made it, and they just got the credit because they had the financial
is true.
resources because they're racist and they were in front of
And
us
we gonna
economic power and they had we didn't have social media, but they had the power of the
Right.
PR.
Uh-huh.
Ooh, you were in
Patents.
media and communications. Talk about racism in media.
We got to talk about racism in media on the next episode, but we
Okay,
are gonna drop some of the cool patents you guys would have never known,
For sure.
or items that were created by black folks that don't get listed below in the comments. Please, guys, if you made it this far, make sure you like, subscribe. This is episode 1. But before we go, sponsors. Before we go though, we're gonna jump into a little bit about SLBP. We were gonna talk about lie to kick it, but listen, white folks, you ain't got to lie to kick it. Sometimes we all racist or prejudiced, and it's okay. We can learn better. We can do better. But when we talk about what Start Loving Black People is, Start Loving Black People is for the culture, man. Start Loving Black People is really our way as a love letter for the people, for the culture, to do better, to love better, to talk to each other, to be able to communicate.
We
love
love
ourselves. Because what we're saying
Yeah.
is, listen,
Straight
we
up.
want society to love black people as we love black culture. It's too many times in our day that we love the output, the production, the entertainment, the music, the athletes, but we don't love the black people themselves. So that is really what Start Loving Black People is about. It's to really bring us together and spread love, but challenge society about the awareness and what we can do. And Nkosi has some good points. Learn your history, get into it. And on Juneteenth, which is Juneteenth today, encourage another person that's maybe not be black, a person of non-color,
Research an event in history.
to know it, to be a part of it, because we all have our own prejudice, and this is really a way for us to talk about what the facts are and what it is. And I stand by what I say, man. Racism barely is real. It's not even about being racist. It's about profit. You know what I mean? So, and I hate to just wrap it up, but listen, go online right now, startlovingblackpeople.com.
That's the official sponsor of the show today. Start Loving Black People. Look,
You can get you one of these hoodies.
You know what I'm talking about?
Get
Looking
the
fresh.
startlovingblackpeople.com.
Straight up.
Go online, use promo code Nkosi Speaks. It gets you 30% off. It's my dog here. He's gonna pay for y'all bill when you check out.
First, 15 shirts. We just starting.
No, it's all good, man. We're gonna do it and make it happen. So shout out below. Make sure you subscribe.
Oh, please
like,
hit the
follow.
subscribe button. Like, everybody go ahead and subscribe right now. I'm going to give you a second. Subscribe. Click. Appreciate it. Yes. Please.
And that's it.
Love us by hitting the subscribe
Love
button.
us,
For
love
real.
you. Start loving
And
black people.
We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity and hear what we have to say.
Word.
And Start Loving Black People is going to be a household brand. We want to bring it to a city near you in the far
Trying to go on
future,
tour. It's the first
near
episode.
future,
All right, listen. I'm Charles
got some tour
Bourgeois,
ideas,
the
though.
people's champ, kissing babies, shaking hands, or shaking babies and kissing hands, whatever gets the job done.
And I'm Brother Nkosi, and how it go is I'm Nkosi. Now's the self inside to liberate the spirits, minds, bodies, and pockets of my people.
And that's a wrap. We out.
Peace.